Imagine receiving a parcel, not much different from the many you've gotten from online shopping. However, instead of the usual electronics or clothing, you open it to find a child inside, complete with a little note around their neck. This might sound like the start of a whimsical children's book or a scene from a comedic film, but shockingly, there was a time when mailing children was not just an absurd idea, but an actual method of transportation. The early 20th century was a period of rapid innovation and change in America. The advent of the parcel post service by the United States Postal Service in 1913 revolutionized the way goods were transported across the country. Prior to this, sending packages was often expensive and cumbersome, typically limited to smaller items like letters and small parcels. The new service allowed for the shipment of larger and heavier items at a fraction of the cost, opening up a world of possibilities for American families and businesses. However, this newfound convenience led to some unexpected and rather peculiar uses of the postal system. One of the most bizarre byproducts of this innovation was the phenomenon of mailing children. Yes, you heard that correctly. There was a brief period in American history when parents, primarily in rural areas, actually sent their children through the mail. The practice began almost immediately after the parcel post service was introduced. In January 1, 1913, the Beagle family from Glen Este, Ohio, mailed their infant son to his grandmother's house, which was only a few miles away. The baby, weighing just under the 11-pound limit for parcels, was safely delivered by a postal carrier for a mere 15 cents. With an additional insurance fee of $50. The rationale behind such a seemingly ludicrous act was both economic and practical. Rural families often faced significant challenges in accessing transportation services. Roads were poorly developed, and many families could not afford train tickets. In this context, the parcel post service presented a cost-effective and convenient alternative. Sending a child through the mail was not intended to be an act of neglect, but rather a pragmatic solution to logistical problems. The phenomenon of mailing children, while short-lived, saw several documented cases between 1913 and 1915. Each story adds a layer of absurdity and charm to this unusual chapter in postal history. For instance, a 4-year-old girl named Charlotte May Piersdorf was mailed by her parents from Grangeville, Ohio, to her grandparents' house 73 miles away. Her journey cost just 53 cents in postage. Charlotte May's story became so famous that it inspired a children's book, Mailing May by Michael O'Tunnell. However, the whimsical nature of these stories should not overshadow the inherent risks and ethical considerations. Mailing children, while motivated by practical concerns, exposed them to potential dangers. The postal carriers, often kind-hearted and responsible, were not trained to handle the complexities of childcare during transit. The safety and well-being of the children were largely dependent on the goodwill and diligence of these individuals. Recognizing the potential hazards, the United States Postal Service swiftly moved to put an end to this practice. By 1915, regulations were introduced to explicitly prohibit the mailing of human beings, regardless of weight or distance. The decision was a necessary step to ensure the safety and dignity of children and to maintain the integrity of the Postal Service. In retrospect, the brief era of mailing children stands as a curious footnote in the annals of American history. It reflects a time of rapid change and innovation, where the boundaries of possibility were being constantly redefined. It also serves as a poignant reminder of the lengths to which parents will go to provide for their children, even in the most challenging circumstances. While we can chuckle at the absurdity of it today, the stories of mailed children offer a unique glimpse into the resourcefulness and resilience of early 20th century American families. The most outrageous and widely publicized instance of child mailing occurred in February 1914. A young boy named James Joseph Jim Cavell, who lived in Batavia, Ohio, was mailed to his grandmother's house in a neighboring town. Jim's journey was particularly notable not only because he was a few pounds over the weight limit, but also because of the distance he traveled, which was significantly longer than previous cases. The local and national media picked up on the story, and it quickly became a sensation. The public response to Jim's mailing was one of both astonishment and outrage. While some people admired the ingenuity of his parents, many others criticized the practice as reckless and dangerous. The outcry reached such a fever pitch that it prompted a formal investigation by the United States Postal Service. Officials were forced to confront the fact that while the parcel post service was intended for inanimate objects, it was being used in ways ways that had never been anticipated. There are no documented cases of children getting lost in the mail during the brief period when some families use the Parcel Post Service to send their children. The practice, though bizarre, seems to be carried out with a surprising degree of care and responsibility by the postal workers involved. For instance, in the case of May Piersdorf, the 5-year-old girl mailed from Grangeville to Lewiston, Idaho, the postal carrier personally ensured her safe delivery to her grandparents. Similarly, in other cases, postal workers took their duties seriously and made sure the children reached their destinations without incident. However, the potential for something to go wrong was a significant concern. The fact that children were mailed safely does not diminish the risks involved. The practice was quickly stopped, precisely because of the inherent dangers and the need to protect children from the numerous potential hazards of being treated as mail. The quick action to implement regulations prohibiting the mailing of human beings likely prevented any future tragedies from occurring. The USPS revised its regulations to clearly state that human beings could not be sent through the mail. This was an explicit prohibition aimed at preventing any further instances of mailing children or any other individuals. Although the Parcel Post Service already had weight and content restrictions, these were further emphasized and clarified to ensure that living beings, regardless of weight, were not considered permissible parcels. Postal workers were given clearer guidelines and instructions to identify and prevent any attempts to mail human beings. This included more rigorous inspection of parcels and a greater emphasis on enforcing the new regulations. The USPS also undertook efforts to inform the public about the new regulations and the reasons behind them. This included outreach through various media to educate people about the dangers and illegality of mailing children or any other individuals. The public perception of the Parcel Post Service also began to shift. While it was still seen as a revolutionary advancement in transportation and logistics, the idea of using it to send children was now viewed as a misguided and irresponsible application. Stories of mailed children became cautionary tales, illustrating the sometimes dangerous lengths to which people would go to solve logistical problems. Reflecting on this peculiar chapter in American history, it's hard not to marvel at the sheer audacity and resourcefulness of the families involved. The idea of mailing children, while absurd by today's standards, highlights the lengths to which people will go to overcome obstacles and find practical solutions, even if those solutions seem outlandish. It also underscores the importance of societal norms and regulations in ensuring the safety and well-being of children. The stories of mailed children serve as a fascinating reminder of a time when the world was rapidly changing and people were still figuring out how to navigate these changes. They reveal the human side of technological progress, where innovation and practicality sometimes collide in unexpected ways. And while we can laugh at the absurdity of it all today, it's worth remembering that these stories are rooted in the very real challenges and resourcefulness of early 20th century American families. What do you think about the idea of mailing children? Do you have any other outrageous or bizarre historical anecdotes that you'd like to see covered in future videos? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more fascinating stories from history.